The hangover from the divisional loss is supposed to be over by now, right? No. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. It's been 5, 6, 7 days, depending on when you're watching this video, since the Lions lost the divisional round matchup to the Washington Commanders. If you've been around the channel for some time now, you know that I've covered Lions pretty much solely from the point they lost the NFC Championship game last year, and they had such an amazing 2024-2025. It's honestly been the best football watching of my entire life. I've been a Lions fan my entire life, and this has just been a magical privilege to cover this in a different way through YouTube, making these videos. But I think sometimes the problem with that is you get sort of behind this like veil or this mask of like trying to maybe even project too much positivity or too much analytical background or whatever you're saying, to the point where you're just like you're not even absorbing what really happened. And I think if anybody, especially members of the channel, watched me do the live play-by-play and reaction as I'm watching the divisional round game against the Commanders, I mean, I almost went silent for most of the fourth quarter. And it was tough. It was almost like I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I think part of what I've been experiencing from the moment of that loss is I still can't really believe what took place. And, you know, I talked about on the channel in the game preview and a lot of videos leading up to that matchup with the Commanders that, you know, certainly the team was not going to overlook that matchup. But, you know, now looking back, all said and done, doesn't it sort of feel that way? You know, the media coverage, a lot of the coverage that I heard coming out of Detroit, and personally myself, I'm not immune to it. I thought that was the right matchup for the Lions to get. Washington coming in off of that tough road matchup against Tampa Bay, and then thinking coming to Detroit, a rookie quarterback in that environment against a red hot offense in the Lions, it just seemed like it was the perfect storm for the Lions to get a win and go back to the NFC Championship game. Well, lo and behold, they couldn't do it. Jaden Daniels and the opportunistic Washington Commanders were able to take advantage of a poor offensive performance by the Lions and just stun all of Detroit. And it stunned me, and I think that certainly came off in that live. So this is my honest and true reaction to that divisional round loss and the end of the Lions season here in 2024 and 2025, and I'm truly still stunned, and it sucks. So this is my real reaction. This is one take, this is uncut, and all I did was write a couple notes down just so I didn't miss, you know, anything that I wanted to make sure that I talked about. But I did not take any kind of extensive notes or do any sort of research as you're typically used to here on the channel. I like to be very overly prepared and ready, and I think that's part of why I wanted to do this video, is because I want people to understand that it affects me. I am a fan of the Detroit Lions, and that loss hurts. It was so unexpected. The defense was it is what it is because of all the defensive injuries and the guys on injured reserve. You knew at some point they weren't going to be the team they were against the Vikings. I thought they would be more of the team they showed in San Francisco or against the Bills, where they lost, that game. Obviously, we're able to pull it out against San Francisco, but I thought that the defense was more that than it was against the Vikings. So it didn't surprise me what we got defensively from the Lions. But what really surprised me was what we got offensively. And there was some good. Jahmyr Gibbs, he was fantastic in that game. Every time he hits the ball, he was dynamic. And that's what's maybe so frustrating, is why did they not just continuously feed him the rock? I don't understand it. We know Ben Johnson took the Chicago head coach job, which is great for him. And I'm glad for him, and he deserves it. And he's been a fantastic offensive coordinator and great with this Lions organization for some time. He's one of the reasons why they've been able to turn it around, why Jared Goff's been so good. I'm not a detractor of that move. He should go to Chicago, make all that money, and put himself in a good situation. And I would never sit here and say that he was distracted by any means or that affected a game plan. But man, it just didn't feel right against Washington. That Jamison Williams end around toss for an interception, which I know was set up from the previous touchdown, so it makes sense schematically. But in that moment, in that point of the game, down 10, You're going to put that guy with the ball in his hands to make that decision. That doesn't make any sense. And there were some other play calls that didn't make any sense. They went empty set so many different times. You're like, where's Jahmyr Gibbs? I think I saw that it was a 14-touch game for Jahmyr Gibbs, who has been the most dynamic running back in football. Really, you could argue that for the last 3 or 4 weeks, compared to Saquon Barkley, who got 26 carries in his divisional round game and was one of the reasons why Philly's going to the NFC Championship game. So it's really frustrating, and I don't know really how to feel or how to really express that. I can relay facts and stats and tell you everything you need to know about game things, but to really tell you how I feel is that it was hurt. It hurt, and I think it will hurt for some time, maybe even more so than that NFC Championship loss, because there was just a different set of expectations, and coming into this season with so much high expectations, and for them to get to 15-2, even through the Aiden Hutchinson injury, everything else stacking up on the injury side, the defensive woes they were having, they were able to overcome all of it. And it was like everything was set up the right way against the right team at the right time. And it was so much not that. And the Lions lose that football game and honestly didn't feel like they were really ever in it. And as much as they had chances to take control, they could have went up 14-3, but they fumbled. Jared Goff throws a pick 6. I mean, so many other things stacked on top of each other there. The 4th down, 12 men on the field. That's inexcusable. There's another thing that's just shocking in that game, and I cannot believe, in such a big moment that would be one of the gaffes to cost them a season. It is incredible. It's tough to swallow. And again, the Ben Johnson thing, so many things just didn't make sense with this offensive game plan. And again, it's easy to question it now that they lost and from an outside perspective and hindsight, right? But, it just leaves such a sour taste in your mouth with him leaving and now going to Chicago within the division. And again, great for him. But now we got to face them twice a year. And, you hope for his sake it works out, but at the same time, as a Lions fan, you don't want that to work out because you want to beat them twice a year. So it's just a tough spot to be. Now you're losing Aaron Glenn, the other coordinator defensively. He's now going to the Jets. You've already lost a defensive line coach in Terrell Williams. You think you're going to lose other assistants, so you're just seeing all of these pieces leave the organization, and it is hard to it's not even hard to think it'll ever be the same again. It won't ever be the same again. And I don't mean that in such a terribly negative way. I think the team will come back next year very strong. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. But it's just hard to think that you're going to lose both coordinators, a ton of assistant coaches, and have all this turnover. And although you might have the best culture in the league, part of the reason you had that best culture is because you had continuity in the staff, and you're losing all that now. So you had to get a win, and they didn't do it. And it's so frustrating. I know a lot of people feel the same way I do. There are so many, I'll say it, butthurt fans out there right now and taking it out in so many terrible ways, and it's hard to see. And I've really tried to avoid a lot of content, and it's reflecting here in what I'm getting in return. Obviously, I make Lions content, and honestly, nobody is watching my videos. It's just the truth. And I don't blame Lions fans for doing that, for turning against it. I'm losing subscribers left and right. It's just the truth. And I as much as it hurts, I understand. And I'm almost doing it in return. I don't want to hear it and see it and live it over and over again. But for a lot of people, it's therapy, and it makes it easier to get through things like this. And you always got to take into perspective what's really important, right? These are sports, and these are things that a lot of people would say really don't matter in the end. But a lot of people use this as other reasons for fuel and, like I said, mental health. And so, there's a lot of reasons to love sports. But in the end, you got to remember what's important. Family, the people around you, the other good stuff you have in your life, your health, your wellness. That's always most important, right? But these things hurt. And especially in the position that I'm in now, covering the Lions, and I try to put out as much quality content, and it was just so positive for so long, and it just ended so abruptly. And that's the toughest part. It's just hard to deal with. So, it doesn't end anything here for me at all. I think this channel really started from that NFC Championship loss and carried me through that offseason and allowed me to learn how to make this channel a thing, how to gain subscribers, how to make a video worthwhile, how to make true, honest content for you guys to watch that is meaningful to me, that ultimately, hopefully, is meaningful to you, and is true Lions fan coverage. And that's what I give, and that's what's coming across, hopefully, here with these videos. But it's hard to do through such a tough ending. It really, really is. So, the question remains, with this loss, what's ahead for the Lions? Well, we're going to dive into it here on the channel. We've already done a off-season priorities video. We'll have plenty of mock draft coverage and free agent coverage. So the Lions will move forward with this. Dan Campbell has come out and said that he's going to take his time with his coaching resets and hiring the right people, the right staff. I think a lot of it will be internal, but I think they'll do their due diligence and look outside the organization and see what options are available to them. I also find it hard to believe they're going to bring in 2 rookie coordinators and then be better than they were this season before. So again, do they bring in a little bit more experience to one of those spots? Who knows? But again, we're going to cover it here on the channel. If we get any news, I will have that for you. More than anything, I just appreciate you guys holding in there with me, being Lions fans, being sports fans, being positive, and being honest and real. And that's what I promise to give to you guys. And I appreciate all of your time. And like I say in the end of my videos, more than anything else, take care of yourself and your mental health. That is more important than anything. I want to make sure you guys come back and see me on future videos. We will have a lot of fun stuff ahead. Thank you guys so much again. Have a great week ahead. Enjoy the football. If you want to get back into it, I know it's hard. I know a lot of you might just decide to avoid it. But if you do want to get back into it, come back and see me. We'll have some game previews coming up. We'll take a look at the Super Bowl matchup as we get into that area, and we'll have some fun with that. So again, thank you guys. Go Lions.